So, the selections for who made the NBA 2021 All-Star Game have officially been released, and the rosters have been set for each conference. As always, there were quite a few players in the running with worthy cases to be made that they deserve to be chosen, and every player that got picked is worthy in their own right. But with that being said, because of the limited amount of spots available, there are always players that get left out that deserve cases as well to be chosen. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing the 5 biggest snubs from the 2021 All-Star Game, being the players that had legitimate reasons to be picked but got left out. Before we start though, it turns out about 67% of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I would also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first snub we'll be discussing today is Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat. A lot of things are going wrong with the Miami Heat's season this year, and they have definitely disappointed in the grand scheme of things to this point. But one constant source of positive production that you cannot say all that negative stuff about for this team is Bam Adebayo and his production on a nightly basis. Adebayo is averaging nearly 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists per game, while shooting about 57% from the field, and his ability to produce in so many different areas while holding things down on the defensive end has kept the Heat in a lot of games, while players around him have either been in and out of the lineup due to COVID and injuries, or just not playing up to their typical standard. He's one of the best passing big men in the NBA, his versatility on defense helps plug a lot of holes left by those around him that struggle in that regard, such as Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, who do for sure, and his scoring has taken yet another leap this year after seeing a big emergence last year. I understand not having Jimmy Butler selected this season because he's only played a little over half of the team's games to this point, so the sample size wasn't big enough for him. But Bam has played nearly every game and his production is up to par. Plus, another main argument against him was that the Heat have struggled, but ever since everybody's been back in the lineup, they've been turning things around and are just now half a game out of the 8th seed in the playoff race, leaving me to believe that they'll more than likely be in the playoffs by the time the year ends. The next player that you could argue was snubbed from the All-Star Game this season was Tobias Harris of the Philadelphia 76ers. Tobias got paid a fat max contract 2 off-seasons ago, and after that season that he had last year, deservedly, he got a bit of backlash. Now, I'm not trying to justify the money being paid to him now, but what can be said without a doubt is he's at least holding his weight and has been producing at a much higher level that makes the contract concerns much more of an afterthought, because this season he's turned things around in a big way and is playing winning basketball on the #1 seed in the East right now. He's averaging about 21 points and 8 rebounds per game. He's half a percentage point in free throw shooting away from being a member of the highly coveted 50-40-90 club, demonstrating ultra efficiency, and a lot of the bad habits that he had last year have been removed from his game, which has helped the Sixers improve a ton all around. The best team in the conference typically gets multiple All-Stars, and Harris's production is All-Star caliber here, so a case could definitely made that he deserved to be in because of the combination of his production and team record. The next player that you could definitely argue got snubbed from this year's All-Star Game is Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. This is easily the biggest snub of the night, and it's one that truly baffles me beyond belief. They instead chose to nominate Chris Paul for the game, which I understand why Chris Paul would get chosen, and he's absolutely worthy of it, but I really did not expect it to come at the expense of Booker. If anything, I thought maybe they would both have a shot at making the team, especially because a team with as good of a record as the Suns have, as they have the 4th best record in the whole league at the moment, is plenty worthy of having 2 All-Stars. Booker is putting up about 25 points per game this year, which isn't quite as high as we've come to expect from him, but because of the fact that he's now sharing the court with such an impactful veteran like Chris Paul is, he doesn't need to score as much. Plus, on top of that, he's been highly efficient scoring the ball, making 50% of his shots and 38% of his threes. He's a tremendous secondary playmaker, and he is the go-to shot maker for the team down the stretch of games. I hope he can still get in as a replacement player due to Anthony Davis missing the game most likely due to injury, but in general, this was, in my opinion, the biggest snub of the whole event. The next player that you can argue got snubbed big time from the game this year is Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks have been brutalized by injuries for most of this season, so even though many people expected them to take that leap into contention, they haven't quite done so, but Trae has done his best to keep them afloat in the meantime. They're only one game back from the 8th seed in the East this year so far, and with so many games left to be played, there's plenty of time to overcome that small of a hill to get in, especially once everyone's back healthy and they get back to full strength. So the argument of keeping him out because of lack of team success doesn't really hold as much weight as it would in prior years, especially when you consider players like Nikola Vucevic made it from the Magic, who rank below the Hawks, and Zach LaVine made it from the Bulls, who only have that one-game lead on the Hawks. Young's production of 27 points and 10 assists per game on relatively above-average efficiency is up there with any of the players that saw their names called on selection day, so I understand why fans of Trae Young would be upset about this. In the end, it's such a tight race that every year there are going to be a few big names left out, and unfortunately for Trae this year, that's exactly what happened to him. And finally, the last big snub we'll be discussing today is Domantas Sabonis of the Indiana Pacers. The exclusion of Sabonis from the game is the biggest example of hypocrisy amongst the voters, because if lack of team success holds players like Trae Young out of the game, then why is a player like Nikola Vucevic in the game when his production is being done for a team currently in 12th place in the weak Eastern Conference? Additionally, Sabonis' production is very much equal to what Vucevic is putting up, as Sabonis is averaging about 22 points, 12 rebounds, and an impressive 6 assists per game for a big man, while also shooting 53% from the field and 36% from 3, showing his ability to score both inside and out and operate as a pretty solid playmaker from the post. All of that comes in combination with the fact that he's doing this while leading the way for a Pacers team that are currently a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, and they've maintained such an impressive spot in the standings while being without key contributors like TJ Warren and now Karis LeVert for nearly the entire year. Whether it's a small market bias or what, I really don't know, and while I claimed that Booker was the biggest snub of the night earlier, this snub might be the most confusing one of the bunch. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below anyone else you believe got snubbed from the All-Star game this year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.